Hello and welcome once again to the video. In this one I shall be continuing my look at every Formula One Grand Prix in the 2026 World Championship. Just a simple look from a fan's perspective. I've been a fan for more than 40 years and just simply from a fan's perspective. What I normally do, of course, is I list the finishing order of the 20 drivers there. Then the top 10 in the championship I list there, and then the rundown of the 11 teams in the Constructors' Championship. Okay, so let's dive in, shall we? So this was round number 3 in Suzuka, Japan. I always like to, sometimes I forget to make sure it's in focus. Right, so let's start with the rundown, shall we? Start up here with Antonelli again, doing a Nigel Mansell. And Nigel Mansell won his first 2 Grand Prix. Not his first 2 Grand Prix he took part in, but he won. His first win at the European Grand Prix at Brands Hatch in 1985 was followed 2 weeks later by his second win in Kyalami, South Africa, in his Williams Honda. Okay. Piastri. So unlucky Piastri. Leclerc. Russell. Stay in focus. Stay on target. Okay. 5. Norris. Hamilton back to his 6th place again. Gasly. Verstappen. Lawson. Ocon. Hulkenberg. Hadjar. 13th. Bortoleto, Lindblad, Sainz and Colapinto. And then Perez. Alonso, Bottas and Albon. Leaving Stroll and Bearman. Stroll and Bearman. There's the 2 retirees. Okay, so rundown in the championship. Let's go. First is Antonelli. 72. Second. Russell. 63. Third. Piastri. 21. Bearman. 17. Gasly. 15. Verstappen, dearie me. With 12. Lawson. 10. Okay. Rundown in the constructors. We have Mercedes out front on 135. Second, Ferrari on 90. Third, McLaren 46. And Haas somehow still in fourth with 18 points. Fifth, Alpine on 16. Sixth, Red Bull, dearie me, on 16 as well. Seventh. Seventh, RB Racing Bull. I don't pronounce the S because it's silly. RB are on 14. 8 is Audi on 2. 9, Williams on 2. 10th, amazingly, Cadillac. They're not last. Because officially, Aston Martin are last. Okay, so there you have it, and there it is. Who got the I can't remember who got the fastest laps. I'll have to not put that down, I'm afraid. It's not a big deal, me not putting it down, but I can't remember. Well, it's not a case of remembering. I just don't know who got fastest lap. It was probably Antonelli because he was flying when he didn't really need to fly, basically. I bet they were telling him to slow down. Problem is, when a Formula One driver slows down, they lose their rhythm. That happened to Ayrton Senna, Monaco, 1988. A minute lead, and I don't know, I can't remember if he was told to slow down or be careful by his team. But I think the inference is that he did slow a little bit because he had a minute's lead over his teammate Prost, and he crashed into the barriers at Poitiers, and he didn't go back to the paddock. He didn't go back to his team. He just went back to his flat because he lived in Monaco. He just went back to his flat. They found him there eventually, located him there. Kimi Räikkönen did that at Monaco as well. He had an accident and he didn't go back to the pits. He just went onto a friend's boat or something. He was seen on a friend's boat. Anyway, so Antonelli has won 2 races. Russell has won 1. Mercedes has won all 3. It's incredible, isn't it? Antonelli is the youngest driver to have ever led the World Championship. What was the official thing? 19 years, 261 days, I think. The previous record holder was Lewis Hamilton, was previously the youngest driver to lead the World Championship in 2007, but he was 3 years older. So, well, less than 3 years older, because I think his birthday is in early in the year, and he was leading the championship from like round 2 or something, all the way to the final round. But Antonelli has beaten that record by about 2.5 years. That's incredible. I'm not sure how I feel about a teenager winning races and leading the World Championship. I don't mind if they're a sort of a wunderkid, a one-off. then I don't mind. But if it's sort of standard, if it becomes standard for 19-year-olds to win Grand Prix and lead World Championships, then that's a bit scary. Although, of course, Max Verstappen was, how old was he when he won his first race? About 18 or something. 2016, he was born in 97, so he might have been, yeah, he might have still been 18 when he won Spain in 2016. But he didn't lead the World Championship till years later. Anyway, yeah, and an Italian, it's great to see an Italian back at the top, I have to say, because I grew up with loads of Italian drivers all over the place. Michele Alboreto and Alex Caffi and Riccardo Patrese and Bruno Giacomelli and loads of other ones. They've packed out half of the grid back in the 80s. And the other half was mostly taken up by French drivers as well, French and Brazilian. You had half the grid taken up by French and Brazilian drivers and the other half taken up by Italian. And then there would be the odd British driver. No Germans back then, not until Schumacher came along, although we did have Jochen Mass in the 70s. Won a couple of Grand Prix, I think. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, it's great to see an Italian doing well. I know that it'll just, Italians won't particularly be into that. I do work with an Italian, and he said that that's, it's something to fall back on. If Ferrari are not winning every race, he's such a big Ferrari fan that he wanted Ferrari to finish not just first and second in this race. He wanted them to finish first, second, and third. I pointed out that that could be possible with Ferrari engines, but unlikely that Ferrari engined cars. Well, I don't know. You could get a Haas, couldn't you, in third place? 2 Ferraris and a Haas. Anyway, yeah, he said something for him to fall back on is an Italian driver leading the championship, winning races. But they're not likely to be in a Ferrari anytime soon. Antonelli, the last Italian that we had in a Ferrari, was Luca Badoa Italian? I'm trying to remember. Was he Italian, Luca Badoa? Sounds Italian. But he did a few races, didn't he? And Fisichella as well. Giancarlo Fisichella did a few races in a Ferrari as well. But the last one that was consistently in a Ferrari and doing well was Michele Alboreto, of course, back in the 80s. I think that is probably the last time that an Italian led the World Championship. 1985, Michele Alboreto. I think he led the championship, from what I remember, early in the championship, before Prost took over in his McLaren, and Prost won the championship by about 20 points. I think it might have been exactly 20 points. I think he had like 73 points to Prost's 53. That's completely off memory, that is. So it might be slightly wrong. But yeah, great performance by Antonelli, even though he, as he admits himself, is a little bit unlucky. And because he was unlucky, that has to be balanced out. Because he was Antonelli was lucky, that has to be balanced out. The yin and the yang. If one person's unlucky, if one person's lucky, then there has to be somebody else who's equally unlucky, and that would have to be Piastri. I know George would say, no, it's me. I'm the one that's equally unlucky. But I think more so Piastri. We don't know if Russell would have won the race. Possibly. He is in the faster car, but Piastri was on fire at this Grand Prix. He was great during practice. He was fastest in one of the practice sessions. Comfortably quicker than Norris, although Norris did have car issues. So he had limited practice time. So... but I still think that Piastri had the beating of Norris in this Grand Prix, regardless of Norris's limited running. Piastri was just on fire. Missing the first 2 Grand Prix could, not missing them, but not taking part in them, could have had one of two impacts. It could have completely deflated him and made him just fall apart in the championship because he would think the championship's gone. Or it could have the opposite effect and inspire him. And it did the latter. Unbelievable, Piastri was. Of course, he did take part in the sprint race in China. But yeah, he's my driver of the day, Piastri, I have to say. It's a great achievement for Antonelli to be leading the championship. That's amazing. But for this particular Grand Prix, Piastri was the outstanding performer. Leclerc was also very good. Had the beating of Hamilton, who just seemed to slip down the field. He doesn't know why. There were issues with his speed on the straights, apparently, he said. But I don't know, and he doesn't know why that is. What frustrates me a little bit, not necessarily specifically with Hamilton in this case, but I do get a little bit frustrated when all the talk, if a driver is slower than another driver, all the talk is how, and not just this year, but every year, for years, the talk is always, not forever, I have to say. People didn't talk like this in the 80s and into the 90s, but it's, people talk about there must have been something wrong with the car. What was wrong with the car? What was it a brake issue or something? Or, something wrong with the, well, nowadays it would be the charging, wouldn't it? The batteries. Was there a tyre issue? Was there, was the crankshaft flat? No one ever says, hang on a minute, maybe one driver was just faster than the other driver. And I remember being frustrated by this in 2016 when, I can't remember which way round it was, but either Hamilton or Rosberg was ever so slightly quicker than the other one. This is like 10 years ago, when they were fighting for the championships. And in one particular race or practice session, I think it was, one was slightly faster than the other one. And the comment was made, well, they asked, whichever one it was, they asked them, why were you slow? And it was like, I don't know, I've got to go back to the garage and look at the data. Something was not right there. There might be a pickup issue with my something, with my brake-by-wire or whatever, as I said just now, maybe his crankshaft was flat, And I was sort of saying to the TV, why can't it just be that the other driver was slightly faster? I mean, they're not robots. It's not like if the cars were absolutely identical with all the same issues and all the same everything, they wouldn't do exactly the same times, would they? One driver would be faster than another. If you put me in a Mercedes right now and I was slower than Antonelli and Russell, it would be because it's me. It wouldn't be because the crankshaft was flat. So I find it a little bit frustrating in these more modern times that there seems to be a reluctance to acknowledge that one driver is faster than another, just purely in themselves, faster than another. There always has to be some reason for it. And if it is down to the driver, then they start asking questions about, is that driver feeling unwell? Are they a bit under the weather this weekend? No, one driver can be simply faster than another driver because they are not robots. Now, maybe Hamilton did have an issue down the straights, but maybe he was just, for whatever reason, he was slower. Leclerc was faster, But always the slower driver is always, I've got to go back and look at the data. There was clearly an issue with the car. Why can't one driver just have an off day or something and just be slower than another driver? But that doesn't mean to say that Hamilton didn't have an issue. Maybe he did have some kind of setup issue. I mean, Russell apparently had a setup issue in his car, didn't he, in qualifying, which is why that hampered him in qualifying. He ended up second on the grid, about 3/10 behind Antonelli. And there was some kind of setup issue, which has been acknowledged by the team. But again, I wish it was just a question of Antonelli having put in a faster time. Antonelli, the human, has put in a faster time than Russell, the other human. I would prefer that to be the case than rather it be down to, something that wasn't set up on the dampener correctly or something, that I find frustrating. Oh, good. We've got an industrial lawnmower has just turned up outside. Excellent. So I'll try to ignore it as best I can. Anyway, so I just wish that was the case, but it isn't. But yeah, Russell may well have had, maybe he did have some kind of issue. I mean, a 0.3 is a big gap, it has to be said. But even if it was 3 1/1000ths, there would be some technical reason for it, wouldn't it? Even if it was 3 1/1000ths. But 0.3, yes, there probably is, a genuine setup issue with the car. But of course, Antonelli messed up his start. Hasn't got his starts correct. He went down to 6th place, but then still managed to punch through. Russell, it was Piastri that shot through to the lead, though. Unbelievable. And I was cheered by the fact that the start was different, and indeed the whole race was different to both Australia and China. I didn't want a repeat of the same thing. I didn't want the Ferraris 1st and 2nd, the Mercedes 3rd and 4th, and then 12 laps into the race, the Mercedes are back past the Ferraris with a bit of to and fro, which is very entertaining, but how genuine that to and fro is, I don't know. Hamilton has defended the toing and froing and said that people with less championship wins than him are criticising it. Well, I must admit, I've got less championship wins than Hamilton, about 7 fewer. And so maybe he's criticising me there. I'd love that if he was. But he has said, it's just like karting when you go backwards and forwards in karting. But I would argue that's not quite the same, because in karting, when you go backwards and forwards overtaking each other, you're not doing it because each driver is, one driver's got their battery fully charged and the other one's not fully charged. So it's not the same thing as in karting. It looks the same, yes, when you're looking at it, and it might feel the same in the car, but it's not the same, is it? Because it's all down to battery charge, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's not the case in karting. In karting, it's simply because the cars are very closely matched, and the drivers are closely matched, and they're just chopping past each other backwards and forwards. I did some karting last year, actually. God, that was bumpy. It's great fun, though. I was 2nd quickest out of 12 on the track. I was quite impressed with that, seeing as all the others were about half my age. Right, so I'm digressing again. So, yes. So, what was I saying? Yeah. So I was encouraged by the fact that it was a normal start. Apart from the McLarens, of course, who did an absolute barnstorming start. If it had been the Ferraris doing that, it would have been a case of, here we go again, same thing again. But it wasn't. It was the McLarens doing it, and that was great. Piastri lightning fast, but Norris went from 6th to 3rd or 4th initially, and then he got around the outside of Russell, didn't he, for 3rd. I think it was Russell we got past, wasn't it? And Leclerc got up to 2nd, so the Ferraris still started, well, one of them anyway, started quick. Hamilton was 5th, I think. But Hamilton would have been a bit surprised that he wasn't either 1st or 2nd. But yeah, I was encouraged by that. And the whole race was very sort of similar to last year. There was a bit of overtaking, yes, further down the track, but it was fairly static with the cars. And a lot of people would think, oh no, we're back to previous years again. But I was a bit encouraged. I was glad that it wasn't an exact copy of Australia and China. Doesn't mean that I want every race to be like this one, but I still found that encouraging. Of course, the safety car came out for Bearman's error on Colapinto. I mean, as far as I can see, that was a massive mistake by Oliver Bearman. He tried to drive around the outside on that bend. I don't know what curve number it is or what name it has. I'm terrible with that sort of thing. But he goes around the outside of Colapinto, and obviously Colapinto is going to be straightening up for the next, because it was like a little S-bend, yeah? And the first bit of the S-bend, Bearman charges around the outside, but then it goes back the other way. The bend goes back the other way. So obviously Colapinto has to straighten up, otherwise he would go off. In fact, he did go off. He must have been distracted by Bearman flying across the road in front of him, and it actually sent him off a little bit as well. But that was a terrible accident by Bearman. 50 G that accident pulled, according to Carlos Sainz after the race. Carlos was talking about a big accident he had where he pulled 46 G, whereas Bearman apparently, according to Sainz, was hit the barriers at 50 G. I mean, that's incredible. Amazing. So, but it was a big mistake by Bearman. He'd already qualified way down the field as well, which is a shame, because he's gone from now 5th down to 7th in the championship because of that. But that safety car ruined things for Piastri, but who knows, maybe George. I don't know if George was past Leclerc at the time. Had he overtaken Leclerc at the time? I'm not sure, but Russell, probably Russell thinks he would have come through and won the race. So he feels really hard done by that he came into the pits for his pit stop, and then about half a lap later, Bearman had his accident and the safety car came out, which benefited Antonelli and Hamilton, although for some reason Hamilton came out in 4th instead of 2nd. I don't know why. Some people said he came out of the pits too slow. Some people said he came into the pits too slow. I don't really know. Can't really explain that. But when he came out to 4th, he did then get past Russell up to 3rd, but then just gradually dropped down and finished 6th in his position that he's made his own since, and including 2022. 6th place is Hamilton's. That's his parking space, basically, number 6. And he's back there again, but let's hope that that's the only time this year. Let's hope he's higher. That safety car was bad for Russell. Very good for Antonelli, and should have been very good for Hamilton, but didn't really do anything for Hamilton in the end. It was bad for Leclerc, because he had come in under green flag, and yet Leclerc still finished 3 places higher than Hamilton, even though Hamilton had the free pit stop, if you want to call it that. No, it's not totally free, but he had he had an advantage from his pit stop, Hamilton, and yet still Leclerc got past him, even though Hamilton had been had he been protecting his tyres early in the race on the first stint, or maybe he just wasn't quick enough. But again, you see, because he was a little bit back behind the other drivers, people think there must be a reason for it. It can't just be that Lewis is driving a bit slower. No, there's got to be a reason for it. So he's got to be he's got to be protecting his tyres. Why can't it just be that one driver is quicker than another driver? I don't understand. They always try to find a technical reason why there's a 1,000th gap in time between two drivers. If that's the case, if that's true, then it's true what people say about Formula One, that it is just all about the cars and it's nothing to do with the drivers at all. If the drivers are all identical and any difference in time between them can be explained by a technical thing on the car, then all of the detractors of Formula One are correct, aren't they? I don't think that's the case, though. I have to say, I do not think that's the case. But that's what commentators do, and drivers as well. Oh, I'm half a tenth slower than my teammate. There must be a technical reason for that on the car, And all the pundits and commentators agree, and everyone's searching to find what is the reason for that half a tenth. It's just because he was slower, That's all it was, just because the guy was slower. Right, so Ferrari fighting again. The Ferraris fighting Leclerc and Hamilton. Leclerc doing what probably Hamilton would have also said in the same situation. Oh, I'm being held up here, because there's no doubt Leclerc got past Russell, or was he already past Russell? Anyway, he could have possibly caught Piastri, maybe not. But Leclerc could have had a go at Piastri had Hamilton let him pass, but why should Hamilton let him pass? They're very close in the championship. They were 1 point, separated by 1 point in the championship. It's very early in the championship as well, both on the same tyre strategy. Why should Hamilton not fight Leclerc? So I'm glad that Ferrari let that happen, as they have done all year. And last year as well. I say all year, it's only been 3 races, but last year as well. They did have a few team orders last year, but that was normally when they were on different strategies, tyre strategies. So here, yeah, of course, Hamilton should defend, and he did defend, so long as it's fair. They did touch, apparently, and that could have ended in disaster, of course. That's too close, touching. The fact that it didn't end in disaster doesn't mean it was okay to touch. So, but I wouldn't put that down to just being Hamilton's fault. I would say Leclerc, obviously, it takes 2 to tango, it takes 2 to touch, basically. So that was a little mistake by both drivers there. Could have ended in disaster, but didn't, but could have. But yeah, great fighting again by the 2 Ferraris. Great to see that was. And at the same time that they were fighting, we had Norris fighting. Oh no, it was when the 2 that I'm thinking of is when Leclerc and Russell were fighting. And that was a bit to and fro with Leclerc and Russell. And at the same time, Hamilton and Norris were fighting, scrapping away. And I think Leclerc pulled a really good move on Russell. Exactly, and then 10 seconds later, I think it was Norris pulled a fantastic manoeuvre on Hamilton, both at the first corner, I think. But yeah, there was some good tussles. But it still felt like last year to a certain extent with the racing. But as I say, I'm glad about that. Don't want it to be identical to the last 2 races. What else did I write down here? Yeah, Antonelli he won by about, was it 13 seconds or something? So yes, he was lucky, but as soon as he was in clear air, he was blindingly fast and blew away Piastri. But maybe Piastri was just looking after his car, looking after his tyres, because we're not allowed to say that Antonelli was quicker than Piastri, so there has to be some technical reason for why Piastri was 13 seconds behind. Well, we could just say the Mercedes is quicker than the McLaren, couldn't we? Can't say that Antonelli was quicker than Piastri because, we're supposed to pretend that all the drivers are identical in talent. So it must just be the Mercedes being quicker. Actually, I wonder what it would be like if Antonelli and Piastri were in an identical car. And there's no way that they could be separated, the 2 cars. I wonder, same tyre strategy, everything. I wonder who would win. That's an interesting one because they're both still very young. Well, obviously Antonelli is, but Piastri is still quite new still. So that would be quite interesting to see that. Another thing to note is the Japanese fans. They're the best fans in Formula One, but also I tend to always think that they're the least genuine fans as well. They're so happy and cheerful, but you'll see every driver, every team represented in the crowd, groups of people, and I tend to think that when they're entering the track, they're told, right, okay, you're in such and such grandstand, I can see from your ticket, that grandstand is an Ocon, you have to be an Ocon fan, here's your kit, sort of thing, because none of them look like they're actually genuinely supporting or even know who the person is that they're supporting. They're very enthusiastic, and you'll see a few Japanese people dressed up as Liam Lawson, and you're massively enthusiastic. Do they even know who Liam Lawson is? I like to think that the Honda people dressed up in Honda gear, they are sort of genuine F1 fans. But I remember back in the 80s, you used to see Japanese people cheering on Senna. I suppose you could argue that was because of the Honda engines in the McLaren. But also it could just be because they were thinking, let's pick one of the drivers, the top drivers, and dress up as them, a bit of cosplay, And so they would just pick one. And that's what it's like. It's like a convention, a Star Wars convention. It's an F1 convention. And the Japanese fans are all, doing cosplay, basically. All dressed up as these F1 drivers. But are they really fans of those F1 drivers? Or are they just getting in the spirit of the day sort of thing, Oh, you're a Lawson fan. Boo, I'm an Ocon fan, wee. But at the same time, they are so enthusiastic. They are so into F1. They are the best F1 fans in the world, basically. And apparently, after the race, on the big screens, the race is rerun. And you can stay there. I think maybe it's just on the pit straight and watch on the big screen there. You can watch the whole race again, and lots of people do. So they are massive F1 fans, or that's how they come across anyway. But it could just be that I just find it difficult to believe that they are the ones wearing Lindblad gear are actually proper Lindblad fans, or Bottas, people wearing Bottas hats. Are they really Bottas fans, or are they just getting in the spirit? I think they just get into the spirit of it, which is still good, still very good. I mean, they are. I've said before, previous years, they're great fun. The Japanese fans. They just get into the spirit of it, basically, rather than being devout fans. I mean, Ferrari fans, when the Ferraris have retired halfway through the Italian Grand Prix or the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, San Marino Grand Prix, you see them leaving in their droves. Not all of them, but a lot of them leaving. And I think you're not F1 fans. You're Ferrari fans, but you're not F1 fans. I mean, I never left the circuit when Mansell retired in 1990 from the British Grand Prix. I was devastated. I didn't leave the track. I watched his teammate, Alain Prost, arch enemy, just run around and comfortably win the race when it would have been Mansell winning the race had he not had his gearbox failure. But I didn't leave the circuit because I'm an F1 fan. I still enjoy watching the cars, even though I was devastated by that result and watching Prost going around. I remember the next day a newspaper had a big colour image, and it was unusual for newspapers to have colour back then, mostly still black and white, and there was a big colour picture of the red Ferrari of Alain Prost on the back of the newspaper, and I remember it, looking at it and going, ooh. It brought it all back and nearly brought it all up as well. But I still stayed to the end of the race. Loads of Ferrari fans leave in their droves. Dutch fans as well. It's I've seen that as well. It's so with the Japanese fans, they stay because they're there for a party. It's like they've gone there. That's what it is. They've gone to a party, and there could be one wearing a Bortoleto hat with a Colapinto t-shirt and Bottas trousers, and waving a flag, waving a Lindblad flag. And you would say to them, what are you here for? And they would say, I don't know, some kind of party, isn't it? Well, it's Formula One. Oh, is it? Oh, great. So I think they just get into the spirit of the party, which is still good. What else? I'm going to get a lot of grief from Japanese fans now. I am praising the Japanese fans, but it's just a different type of fan, I think, basically. I think they're just enjoying the party. Right, so what else in the championship. What was that? Oh yeah, look at Verstappen, dearie me. Poor old Verstappen. I haven't spoken much about the others. Gasly was very good, qualified 7th, nailed 7th. I've picked Gasly as finishing 9th in the championship after the top 8, but he may well even finish, at the moment he's above both Verstappen and Hadjar, but he's below Bearman, so he's in 8th. But he still might end up best of the rest. If Red Bull get their act together, I still think Gasly will finish 9th with Bearman 10th. But yeah, fantastic, solid performance by Gasly. He had Verstappen nipping at his heels at the end of the race. He couldn't get past Gasly. Clearly not because Gasly happened to be faster. It was obviously clearly a technical thing, you know. We have to think about this. It's the cars, basically. Mind you, if Verstappen was a lot quicker than Gasly, could we say that was because the Red Bull was faster than the Alpine? Are we allowed to say that? Or do we have to say it's because Verstappen's quicker? I don't know. Anyway. I thought the Audis were going to do well, and they were doing well in practice. Didn't really come together, though, in qualifying or the race. That was my, exaggerated prediction. Because my prediction didn't come true at all. I predicted Russell, Antonelli, Hamilton. So I didn't get any of them right. So at the moment, on my predictions, I was 5 out of 6, but I'm now 5 out of 9. Still above 50%. I think if I can get 50% by the end of the year, that would be an amazing achievement. Because I don't get any points for Antonelli being on the podium, because I said he would be second. So I didn't score anything here, unfortunately. But there you go. The McLarens really took me by surprise, I have to say. Well, not so much Norris. That's pretty much where I would have put him. But Piastri, I was really surprised that he got his McLaren up there. Very, very strong performance. Yeah, so Lawson, he benefited. He got into the points because he stopped. I think he was one of those that stopped under the safety car. Lindblad was in the points, but he didn't stop in the safety car, so he lost out. Sainz had a lot to say after the race about Williams and their struggles. Nothing specific, but just saying how they need to work on the car in this 5-week gap. Alonso finished the race. Yep, in Aston Martin, he finished the race. I don't know what his hands were like afterwards, but he finished the race. Bottas was miles down, but that was mainly because they restarted the race after he was allowed to unlap himself after the safety car, or during the safety car. They restarted the race with him only halfway around the circuit instead of bunched up at the back of the cars. So he lost out massively there. Yeah, Stroll retired. I'm not sure what reason, but Stroll retired. So there you go, basically. All in all, I'm pleased that it wasn't just a rinse and repeat of the first 2 races. And there was less talk about batteries. I noticed that. It was less battery intensive. Less battery chat there was, which was good. I think that is it. Yeah, so there you go. What was I? Was there something else I was going to say about the actual championship? Oh, it was just mentioning that Antonelli is probably the first Italian for 41 years. Alboreto, I think, was the last Italian to lead the championship early in '85. I might be wrong, but I think he did lead the championship. Patrese did not lead the championship at all in 1991. He was second in the championship behind Senna early on, before Mansell, his teammate, blew past him, winning loads of races. But yeah, great performance. Hamilton hanging on to 4th place, but that won't last long if he keeps racking up. If he keeps parking in the Hamilton number 6 parking space, if he goes back to doing that every race, then he'll slip down, of course. Look at that, Piastri only 4 points behind Norris. But of course, Norris didn't start in China either, remember. We must remember that. It's not just poor Piastri for 2 non-starts. Norris had a non-start as well in China. Right, so that is it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to subscribe, please do so, or like the video, or comment on the video, or even leave a tip on the thanks button below the video. And I will see you on the next video. I will probably do some Formula 1. I have a number of videos pre-recorded, about 4 or 5 always pre-recorded, but I think I'm going to do some Formula 1 ones for this gap, this 5-week gap, which is actually bigger than the summer gap. I think the summer gap is, summer break is 4 weeks, I think, this year. This gap is 5 weeks. And of course, we've got 2 Middle East Grand Prix at the end of the year, the last 2 races. Let's just hope, for the sake of the world, basically, that those don't get cancelled. Because if they get cancelled, then that means the war is still going. So, anyway. Thank you for watching again. Thank you for listening. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.